Davina, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Joanne.
It's a real delight to have you. I've been wanting to talk to a number of Mauritian authors for a while. We've had Prix, and I've heard about you and read about you and watched you as well in some documentaries. And I think you have an incredible talent and you do our country amazing justice in terms of literature. So before we get into your work, I wanted to ask you, how did the story begin for you? I know it sounds like an open-ended question, but in terms of your talent, where did it all begin?
Probably from my love of literature, since I was doing high school certificate. So I remember one thing that happened and which was decisive for my life. I was in an economics class. I was 17. You know, you had to choose 3 subjects as main subjects.
Oh, so you didn't do literature?
I chose initially economics and accounts.
Oh.
My parents told me, you know, big jobs and everything and all that stuff. And then in the class, just next to ours, there was a Hamlet class. And something just happened in my mind and I said, oh, economics is not my path. I want to know about the human mind, the dilemmas of the human heart. So I just dropped everything and I went to the other class.
How old were you then?
17.
Wow, so you were already in like lower 6 there
Lower
at the
6,
time.
yes. And then I changed all my subjects and I told my parents, no, I have one life. I have to do what I like. And that's my passion.
Wow.
And I was so amazed. I had this amazing teacher also.
May I ask who it was?
Mrs. Pillay.
She is. I knew you were going to say that because to this day, she's my favorite teacher.
Okay.
And I've actually invited her to be on the podcast. I didn't study literature at university, but I was this close because of her. We did Hamlet as well. Okay. And we did Macbeth. But
yes.
She's wonderful.
I did Macbeth also with her, yes. So yes, that's how it began. That little sparkle, which, you know, you just have to pay attention to. The signs that are disseminated in your life and which seem to tell you, okay, this is the way, maybe for you. And so I did my French literature. And I remember the other coup de foudre was André Gide, La Symphonie Pastorale.
Right.
And something triggered me to, and I was hesitating between English literature and French literature. And then I think my grandfathers, they always liked the French language. We learned the French language. We stayed in France for a long time.
Right.
And then just, you know, the answer was so clear in my mind. I think I was 18 and I said, okay, I want to do a PhD, French literature from La Sorbonne.
So it was at 18 years old, in your mind, you had a very clear goal of what you wanted to achieve.
Yes. I had this most ardent dream. I knew it would not be easy because I come from a modest family. You know, my father was, how do you say that, a contrôleur at the CNT, at the bus.
Yeah.
My mother never worked in her life. She pursued her studies till Form 4. But she always said to me, you know, I prayed for you so much to come, because she was already very, very old. No, but at that time it was considered to be old, you know, past 40.
Yeah.
And she
before
said,
you were born, you mean she really wanted?
Yes.
Are you an only child?
No, then she got my brother. It was a miracle.
Once you get one, all the others follow.
Yeah. And then she told me, you know, I always wanted you to be an educated woman, so that you can stand on your feet, because this world is not easy.
Yeah. For women.
For women, yes. So I went to France. My mother's sister welcomed me there. She was already there. I stayed 2 years with her. I studied at Mont-la-Vallée University. And without losing sight of my dream of being at La Sorbonne, then I made an application. I went to Paris and I worked as everything, you know, babysitter, you know how it is. It's difficult
to
in Paris.
get by, yeah, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, I don't know whether that's still the case, but higher education is free in France.
Yeah.
But then you've got all the other
Yeah,
costs.
the lodgings, heating, the electricity, the transport. And then I spent in 12 years, and I achieved my dreams. And then I came back because you said something. You said the country. I think that's important for me. That's my biggest love story, and my most terrible and most beautiful love story ever is with my country. I thought, okay, I got all this from there. It's now maybe a duty to come back and to impart this knowledge to my people, to my country, pay back my debt.
Sure,
I always...
Sure. To give something back.
Yeah, I was thinking of, Plato's philosophy, which says that you are indebted to society, you have to repay your debt to society, to this country, which has fed me, which has given me so much. So I came back and now I'm happy because I'm a French literature lecturer. And
You're doing what you love.
Yeah.
And when you did your PhD in France, was it just the love of the literature, or did you think at that time, even at that time, I want to be a writer?
No, because but when you read so many writers and so many big minds, and for me I was just one speck of dust amongst the Balzac, the Hugo, the Zola, the Gide. And I did my PhD because I wanted to know more and more and more. I always had a particular liking for the Bible and all. Okay. So I did my PhD on the biblical myth in Albert Cohen's novels. Yes, conception of God before and after the Shoah. And so because the love of knowledge, I guess that's what I was looking for. And even now I love
reading.
Yes, I mean, this world is so vast, and I think one lifetime is not enough to...
Yes, I know. That's partly, I was just thinking about that earlier when I was thinking about our conversation, and I asked myself, why do I do this podcast? And one of the reasons is you get so much knowledge from people from all walks of life. I mean, last week we had a doctor. The week before that we have someone who's head of a fintech company in Mauritius. So my subjects are extremely varied, but as you said, the universe has so much to give, and we only have a very, very short lifespan, at least in this life, who knows?
Yes, at least in this life.
Yes, exactly. So you finished your PhD, you decided it's time to come back. Yeah. At what point did you think, and then presumably that's when you start teaching at the Open University?
Yes, in August. I came back in January, and then I started teaching in August. But in between, I wrote the first novel.
The one that won the
Prix Fanchette. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what inspired you to write that novel? What gave you the confidence to write it?
I think 2 weeks before I came back to Mauritius, there was this Charlie Hebdo thing in France. So I got a friend who was a journalist at Le Mauritian, and he said, "Oh, tell me, how do you feel? You are in France, you are there, so write something for us." I said, "Okay, I'm going to write." And I wrote, and he told me, "God, you write so well." And I said, "No, writing an article and writing a novel is something else. No, you should try. Try this Prix Fanchette coming up, try." Then I said, "Oh, I am not sure." But I tried. What triggered me, I often say maybe it was, I remember at that time there was 7 days of continuous rainfall. And I got into, a kind of deep melancholia and a vague, sense of suffering, because I had just left France and now I had to come back to my country, to my parents' homes, maybe Hindu culture. And I was realizing that...
Did you ask yourself at the time, have I made the right decision?
No, because the faces of my parents,
okay.
I think, it's, each time I came back to Mauritius for the holidays, I was seeing how they were aging up and how they were, sometimes forgetting little things, not being sure of themselves. And I think, I could, no. And even now, I think... my philosophy, I would accomplish nothing if I did not accomplish this duty to my parents.
Really?
Yeah. I don't consider myself free, One day when they'll no longer be of this world and I have done my duty, then maybe I'll come back if I consider that I've repaid my debt to this country, to my country.
Wow, that's very deep. Okay, so you wrote something in the space of, what, a week?
Yeah, 2 weeks. And then I sent it.
Were you surprised when you won?
I remember I got a call from Dr. Issa. He told me, "Okay, you're invited at the Prix Fanchette," but then was chatting on and on and on, and he wanted to know about my background. And my mom said, "Oh,
Why does he want to
That's
know that
bizarre.
many things? Yeah, that must be a reason.
My mum was all excited and I was, Mom, don't know what's coming up. So,
Don't get my hopes up.
okay, exactly. And then he invited my parents too. And then I said, okay, maybe I won. And then
So he still hadn't told
no,
you then?
no, he just invited me. And then it was on live on MBC. And then, okay, I got the Prix Fanchette. Okay, it was wow. Because, from academic writing and literary writing is the whole...
Very different, yeah.
And that's why I think I started really to think about it. Yeah, but I didn't have much faith in myself. It was with Misère that
you really got the confidence to... We'll talk about Misère now, and obviously that also won a prize. Yeah. And you wrote that in 2019. What inspired you to write it, to write this book?
I wrote Prix in 2015, Misère in 2019. The time had passed by. I think I reconnected with my country. Okay. And I saw the differences between France, here, and I wanted to tell about that, to talk about that, and I wanted to seek again this beauty of my country beneath the things that maybe are ugly realities. So I think by writing, I wanted to reconnect, but in a deeper way, in reconnection with my childhood also, because you see, Misère is about Rivière des Anguilles, where my grandparents live. I lived half my childhood there. I wanted to revive this because I think at a certain point in life when you have come back, retour au pays natal, comme on dit, that's when you have to look back and say, okay, what is it that binds me now to this country? Of course, with my people, with my language. But what do I want to do? What do I want to say? Where is the beauty of my people and of my land? What can we achieve, even if we are in Ireland, a little speck of dust in an ocean? And then your childhood, souvenirs, maybe some traumas with childhood, things you saw and which you couldn't interpret back then. And now I did the journey again, maybe to regain the faces of my grandparents. Also... To
reconnect with them on some level. Yeah. Were they still around then at that point?
No, they were gone, and the old faces at Rivière des Anguilles. The neighbors, the old women, which would always, knock on the door and give us the curries. I think I wanted to go back there and try to understand from where I came from. And that's when I think this return to Mauritius made me question my Indian roots. That was what I think I was... Because...
Did you feel you lost that in France to some extent? Really?
Yeah, because I was so... I've always loved the Bible stories. I've always been fascinated by that, the Ancient Testament, Judaism and everything. And I loved Hinduism, but I didn't know Hinduism. And I was questioning myself, but why did the universe put me in a Hindu family? What is there to know? Why? And that was when I began to learn Sanskrit. And that book, I think, is reconnecting also to, there's a portion of the Upanishads. It's at the last end of the Vedas, which tell you that, okay, detach yourself. And that's, I think, this aligned with what I feel like, the fathers of les pères de l'Église, Saint Augustin, Thérèse d'Avila, and then I was reading about, I'm in love with the Sufis, Rumi and all. So something maybe just aligned to bring me to I don't know what state of consciousness, but I became aware that India also breathed within me. France was breathing within me, but where was Mauritius between all that?
At a crossroads somewhere.
Yeah. And I wrote without knowing what I was writing. I just had this, it begins with a latrine, because there was a latrine at my grandmother's place. And so I just had to close my eyes and I went for all that. I dared to go for all that because it's not always easy, I guess.
Yes, they can be quite, as you said, there's some trauma there as well. And that brings me to my next question. You chose a very interesting and a very specific period of time, which was, if I'm not mistaken, January 1968. Yeah. That's when the story started. prior to our independence. Yeah. So why did you go there at that specific point? Was that intentional?
Yeah, because everywhere around me, I was always sensing some unease when we talk of this period, you know, guerre raciale. There's like a déni of that. People will talk about it, but then they just stop.
In denial.
In denial, yes. But a country which isn't aware of its own history and which doesn't have the courage to look at its history with naked eyes, where will we head? I saw, you know, the other subtle realities. I'm always so afraid and so scared that we're in a sort of illusion where, you know, it just takes one thing to just collapse.
Almost like a domino effect.
Yeah.
It just requires one spark.
Yeah.
The whole thing will collapse.
Always scared of that. I mean, sometimes you see and you hear things that are very, very, it stays communal, you know, that identity close within oneself, community, religion. And I think I wanted to go there because that's the root, that's the source, and nobody would tell me about the guerre raciale. So I had to recall what others told me, the old persons, had to recall what Ananda Devi sometimes said, Natasha Pana. So I went to look, Jean-Claude Delestraque's book. And then in my mind, I think I traveled back.
And you constructed a story.
And I constructed my story, yes, made up of all those people who just came into my life back in this village of Rivière-des-Anguilles where... Yeah.
I think I heard you say in one of the... And it's interesting that you mentioned your grandparents and where you grew up. I think I heard you say on tele that your uncle had six. So that was the inspiration for Krishna.
Yeah, I remember, and they were saying that this was the mark of a devil, having six fingers, you know. Yes. And you know, in small villages, there are so many
superstitions. I know. Even to this day, what astounds me is that whenever I come across educated people who are extremely superstitious, and it always makes me smile.
Yeah. In this village, it was always like this. And you know, as a child, you just absorb all this. And it just comes back. I think what marveled me was the way it came back. Writing is that, right? Things seem to align themselves, and you see clearly what your path is about, where it all began, or maybe in past lives, I don't know. And this led to deep, deep questionings about everything, about not only my path, but the state of our country, the karma of our country. Why were we born here? Mauritian, being a Mauritian, what does it mean? Why am I so compelled to India? Why do I love France so much? But I'm Mauritian. Yes. So what does this all mean? And what is my relationship to God, to the universe? Who is God? So I think...
Very deep. You went quite deep, actually.
Yeah, I think I can't stop myself from thinking about this.
Of course. You spoke about, you know, it incited you to relearn or learn Sanskrit, and because of your previous interest in biblical topics, did writing this help you to reconnect with Hinduism, and did it shift your perspective on life in general and your purpose and your meaning and all of that?
That's a deep question. No, I guess, you know, when I studied Sanskrit, I wanted to go to the source because I didn't trust the pundits. I don't go to pujas or anything like that. I wanted to go to the source and see for myself what did Krishna say to Arjuna? What happened there? What happened in the Mahabharata? What is there in the Vedas? But when I began to explore, and I'm still exploring, I saw this connection, you know. I saw Matthew's Evangel when he talked of a parable of a semeur, and you see the psalm, David's psalm, you see when you read the Cantique des Cantiques, you see l'Ecclésiaste, and then you see somehow, somewhere...
So many similarities.
Yeah.
This is my personal view, obviously not everyone has to agree with it, but there are so many similarities in all of the religions which makes it even more surprising that people would use that as a divisive factor as opposed to a unifying factor. Because all the stories somewhere rejoins themselves into one source.
Yes. It's just been retold maybe in different cultures, in different languages, I think I call that alignment. I don't know how to call that, but somehow, and then you see the beauty of it all. If you see beauty in even the small things, I mean, the beauty here is in the flowers.
Yeah.
It's not in this table.
And
nature,
Yeah.
you see. Beauty is in the light in your eyes when we're talking of literature. Beauty is the passion. So I think that's what is most essential to life. Yeah. And if you see this beauty, then you're filled with, I don't know if it's joy or it's Christian joy, then you feel so light. And this is what writing also is all about.
So is it also kind of almost therapeutic, has a therapeutic effect on you when you write?
I think I can't imagine my life if I'm not writing. It has, I have two passions in life, teaching and writing. I think I've been born to do that. Many things I don't know, the simple things, sometimes I don't know how to do them.
Sure.
But I love teaching, and that's exactly what I'm doing, and I love writing. I think this is my path. You know, I was listening to Wagner's Valkyrie, the Ride of the Valkyries, and I was planning on putting, you know, a bit of Wagner in my next novel. And he said one thing, you know, one life, one goal, one straight path. Because I think if you're too much in the world and if you listen too much to the world, then you lose the focus. And that's my motto. Teach, write, do what you're
good at. Yeah.
What you're good at, and then
what you've been put somewhere, what you've been put here and called to do. Yeah. And how do you marry the two? You obviously said you enjoy teaching, but do you find it requires a different skill than writing? Because you need to be patient to teach, right? You need to be able to connect with your students.
I think it's passion. I think when they see that you're passionate about the subject, and gradually, you know, the passion just connects to them. And then there's this respect, I guess, which comes along with the more you teach them and the more you open their words, because I teach medieval times. Okay, the legend of, I don't know, Tristan and Isolde. Okay, so they don't know about the medieval times. In Mauritius, we tend to, the start of French literature, Racine, Molière. No.
There was all this stuff before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I take them to the world, the troubadours. I play the little song, you know, and then the Tristan and Isolde. So I put on Wagner's prelude to Tristan and Isolde. And then that's the way of teaching them so that they come to love it. And they said, oh, madam, so much has happened before this.
Yeah, because then they realized there was so much beauty and culture even before.
Yeah, and I guess that's a way of opening minds, because the world is vast and there's beauty in so many things.
Yes.
And so I think my teaching, Renaissance times, you know, La Pléiade, the poetry and all, and that helps me in my writing because it's so connected. This is literature, it's so connected, and it just, say the word again, alignment, yes. But it's not so difficult. I think, you know, now I see many trainings, I see many pedagogical trainings, en parenthèse. Passion, love, when you see them in front of you. If you put the hierarchy, okay, I'm the lecturer and he or she is the student. No, she is a soul, I am a soul. I am here to impart to her something, hoping that it works. Just, you know, semer les graines. And then whatever happens is not in my hands. But I'm hoping that, okay, he or she will come out of his class a bit more aware maybe of a world that surrounds her and of a world that is inside her.
Encourage them to explore what's already within. At the end of
what's
the
already
day.
within. Yes. And it works. It does work. You have to be patient.
Do you think Mauritian writers are sufficiently supported?
Supported?
Or do you have to kind of, because it's your passion and it kind of gnaws at your soul, that you will do it regardless of do you think it's an individual journey or is there a community? That's the question I was trying to ask.
Many have asked me that question, telling me I'm very discreet and I don't go around meeting all the others. You know, it's normal. My temperament maybe is more or less a bit, I love being alone, I love my solitude, and I know everyone, when I meet them, we do talk, but I think it's an individual journey because you have to you know, you have to find that world of silence which lies inside of you. And to do that, you have to get rid of all the voices and all the rumors of the world. And then you have a full concentration. And so I think I've never been the kind to socialize. Sometimes I'm quite angoissée. When you put me in front of a crowd, I can just have it, okay. Am I going to be able to talk? No, I think I'm not the one who stays in the world. And then the world, sometimes I see it, you know, as a vast illusion. And all that matters to me is, okay, the dance of the stars, the universe, okay. I think I'm quite disconnected.
Yes, I understand what you're trying to say. So you separate yourself from the material to some extent.
Yeah, people have told me, you know, you should go out and make réseau, talk to this one. But I think my conception is you do what you can to the best of your abilities, and the book is more important than your name. The book has a destiny. If it's good, it's good. You don't need... It will find its way in the world. That's what happened with Misère. When I found out it was finalist in Prix Orange, I didn't even know it existed. I found it was finalist in so many. I did, okay.
So do you have to enter? I don't know how it works. Do you have to enter those competitions?
My editor sends them. I wasn't even aware. Okay. I won Prix Océanie. Okay, stop now. I'll write another novel. We see. Then I heard it was finalist in all these, you know,
other competitions.
And then I said, okay. So I think Rainer Maria Rilke said that. He's Lettre un jeune poète, and he said, okay, I understand you have sent me your poems to read, to vet. I understand that you have sent to many revues, to many maisons d'édition, and then maybe you're sad because we have refused them. But trust me, don't focus on the exterior. What is important and essential is the inwards. If it has come from the deepest core of you, it will find its way eventually. Be patient.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 more steps. I think, I don't quite believe in making réseau and everything. I believe in
letting things unfold.
Alignment. If you deserve it, you will get it. If you did not get it now, you will get it later. It's okay.
The universe has a plan for you that's bigger than yourself.
Yes. Just trust, trust. But hard work. Do what you can.
Do you write in one go, or do you have to revisit over and over again? Are you a perfectionist in your writing?
Yeah, I have to revisit over and over again. Misère, I wrote a bit at one go because I didn't have an editor for that. I just wrote it. But now with the editor, with the third novel, I learned how rigorous one must be. So I'm still very far from, how do you say that? I call that an écriture nue. Condensation. So I'm still working on that. I'm working on another novel. And so I'm really trying, to
refine
superfluous, to refine. It's never ending, I guess.
Yeah, as you said, it's a journey. You have, your voice is speaking through the book, but that voice might have different intonations as you navigate through the different.
I always say writing is a pénitence et une ascèse en même temps. Voilà. Pénitence, il y a souffrance, there's suffering in that because you have to go so deep. And so deep, but it just takes you to emptiness, to the void. And then it's an ascèse because you're emptying yourself, maybe to get this other presence to invade you. So, for me, it's like that, And nothing exists, I think. Besides this, what happens afterwards when the book is left to the world?
It's out of your hands to some extent.
Yeah. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
So. If it's not so good, no, it's okay.
No worries.
I'll work again.
So then you wrote your second novel in 2021, right?
Lorsque les cerfs-volants se mettent à crier, oui.
I haven't had the opportunity to read it yet, but I understand it's the central theme around it, correct me if I'm wrong, is the role of women in the Mauritian society. So why tackle that theme? Is that something that's very close to your heart, the woman issue, let's call it like that?
In fact, I spoke about 3 generations of women, the grandmother, the mother, and the girl, and the daughter. So maybe it's autobiographical also, because I wanted to know, you know, that womb where my mother came out, and what have I taken from them, from these women who have been so magical, so strong, and which have imparted me, you know, the essentials of life, and now where I am. So that's why I wrote about them. Yes, I'm concerned about the cause of women, especially in Mauritian society. I think it's a very difficult situation. I don't see around me many women who can call themselves as free, you know, free in the mind. Freedom doesn't mean you're I don't know, you're running a company, you're having a car, or you're earning so much money. No, freedom is in the mind. Freedom is walking in a room, and even if there's 100 men, okay, it's okay. Because I sense that there is much violence. Still, women are afraid. I think I see it every day. Women are afraid to say the truth. And I'm not incriminating all men, because it's a mentality, you know, imagine ages and ages of this.
Conditioning, societal conditioning to some extent, yeah.
But what alarms me now, I think, and this is a disservice to womankind, is the number of women who use men to climb up wherever hierarchy and everything. And by doing that, they're doing us a lot of harm. Because these men have become so accustomed to being said, yes, yes, yes. And then when you say no, that's where the harm lies.
Exactly.
And I think this phenomenon is gradually increasing in this society. And these kind of women, they are doing us a very, very bad thing to all of us. To all of us.
Do you think that it's the kind of like somewhere a deep sense of insecurity?
Yeah.
Yeah, justifies this behavior that, and also a sense of lack of self-worth? Because if you don't value yourself, then you think I must do this in order to get that.
Yeah. You know, as I say, they need béquilles. You know, but the strength, real strength, comes from within. It's all about making efforts to get to somewhere. Okay, you have to be patient. No, everyone wants to run and achieve this and that status. I mean, what does status mean? I never understood. What does having a car mean? I don't understand. I travel by bus and everyone tells me, oh, you're a lecturer and you travel by bus. Yes, and I will always try to enjoy it. This is my country. I see the people of my country. And I'm so peaceful in my bus. And you know, my father worked over CNT.
Yes,
so I always take the CNT bus, you know, by loyalty.
As like a loyalty to your dad.
And I love it. And because, you know,
because it's probably your moment as well. Because I mean, I don't take the bus, but I love people watching. So I don't have any issue just going to a cafe and just like watch people walk by. And you I think, and as a writer, I think you probably, those bus journeys, you get a lot of inspiration.
Yes, so enriching. And you know, I have good friends, you know, the controller, the chauffeur, they invite me to their daughter's wedding. I go. I think, you know, this is what's life. This is real life. And you cannot say you love your country if you don't know the people of your country. And then what is a title? Okay, I've got a PhD, I'm a doctor, and so what? Yes. I won't take this to my grave.
Yes, exactly. It's a piece of paper, but it's
a speck of dust of knowledge.
Yes. And it's what it brought to you personally, not something that you will go around to afficher.
No. I see many people who are keen on using their titles. Oh my God. I say, oh God, how can you pass through life and not be humble and to realize that all that you've been given, it can be taken also in 1 second. You don't know what's in store for you. And I think what hurts me, still hurts me in this country, is the level of arrogance I see.
Ego.
Oh God. That's okay. You know, when you're in France and the professors, the big professors, they come in bicycles and then they just pop in their costumes and all. And you see such humility, and we're writing 50 books at one go, and then here you see all the country. Yes, you say, okay.
Yes. Does that make you miss France even more, or je t'ai fait une raison with the fact that I don't want to say it's not going to change, but it will take a long time to change. Maybe not in our lifetime.
Generations.
Yeah.
There's something that's quite a mystery, and I think it's a great strength also, because my love for my country overrides everything. There are moments of discouragement when I say, okay, Dav, this country, there's so much to do. But then there's this love, for my land. This is my land. I've been born here. There are beautiful people out there also. Not everyone is the same. And when you see the sky, you see we've been given everything. We could have produced brilliant minds here.
We do. I think to a large extent we do. But unfortunately, there's also this phenomenon that have always existed in some shape or form, that the brilliant minds leave and not many actually come back. Yeah. I think that's also the issue. You came back.
They feel threatened, the men feel threatened, they feel the ego and everything. And you don't go into you don't fit the mold. And when you speak, especially French language, now they hate you the most.
Perhaps sometimes they look surprised, or when you do beautiful words coming out of your mouth, they almost... But that's their issue, because they made a judgment based on what they see. And when those beautiful French words come out of your mouth, they're like, oh, I had made a judgment on that person, and actually it's not the person I thought it was. And then that destabilizes them.
Yes, but most of them, they want to talk to you further, and they ask you, they are keen and curious. But then many of them feel a bit insecure. Because, mastering, I think language is mastering the world.
Yes.
You are able to put words on your emotions, on things that happen. This is a way of diving deeper into yourself, and this brings awareness. And I guess when you don't master the words. Mastering the words. I'm speaking.
It's the right
I'm speaking in English.
It's the right word.
I was a bit apprehensive because it was in English. And I don't
you
speak
speak
English
beautiful
well.
English. Your English, there's no issue with your English at all.
Yes, I'm so much more at ease with French now. It's for the first time. I guess I'm doing
really
in English. Yes. No, I think mastering the language is a way of delving into beauty, and the way you partake the knowledge or your own experience or your own doubts or everything, it has so much impact.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that's been given to us.
Yeah.
The animals do not master language, they didn't possess language, but we have that. So let's make the best use of it. That's why I say, children, read, listen, read.
I wouldn't use the word force, but because when I was growing up, and I guess it must have been similar when you were growing up, we didn't really have lots of, we didn't have phones, mobile phones.
No.
We didn't, a television had 3 channels. Yeah. We didn't have Netflix, we didn't have YouTube. No. So we had to read, and I enjoyed it. But now, in this day and age, you have to make children read, because there's so much distraction around us.
Yeah, that's I think the saddest thing of it all. Because I always say the mind is a muscle. You have to train it till it's at such a tender age that everything grows. But if you do not make it a habit, like I say, for them to read, but then what? What of the world? What will they understand of the world? And of a human mind, and of a beautiful people out there, that we are all embarked on the same journey.
Yes.
And that there is so much beauty surrounding us, I guess. So that's a bit sad. But I guess, many parents ask me, okay, what can you propose? I mean, my first question, do you read? Because a child who sees books around him.
Exactly.
My mother, I know at every end of month, my father would get such a, tiny salary. Yeah. But then at that time, the Christopher Pikes, I think it was 40 rupees, and she always made it a must. Going to Le Printemps was the biggest adventure.
It was like an outing.
Yeah. And for my birthday, for every one of my birthdays, my ritual is with my father. He brings me to Le Printemps, we go together, and he says, okay, choose your books. What's your birthday gift? And
you were, in heaven.
In 1 month, it's my birthday, and my dad is always saying, okay, nous parle le printemps.
Oh,
oui.
He still does that?
Yeah, we're still doing that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Ever since I returned in 2015.
Oh,
so
that's wonderful. Oh,
yeah.
That's so lovely.
Yeah, that's my parents. Oh. Yeah, it's a ritual, you see, and this is such a beautiful ritual.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't think of any other gifts. Okay. And then he'll walk around me. Okay, you want this? You want that? No, attends.
Oh,
Wait.
take your time. Yeah.
yeah. And then
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's all about this. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed in your writing when I was reading Misère, and maybe it's inspired from, I think you spoke about Rumi earlier, your writing is very poetic.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted to write poems? Or have you ever written poems? Because it's very, I never try to compare with any other writer when I read, but what struck me when I was reading it is the words are so poetic. So I was just wondering whether that is your style?
Poetical prose, I think it is. It comes like this. My editor told me once, I think one day you should write poetry. I said, but maybe, I'm still imprisoned by this fact that poetry is another level,
You have to be so succinct and...
Maybe. I don't feel that I've reached that level. I would love to write, poetry like this morning I was saying to a friend, Thérèse Davila, and spiritual poetry, le bien-aimé, le cantique des cantiques, you see. But I don't feel that I've reached that level. You have to,
maturity,
life is an evolution, and which...
When you're ready.
Yes, you just know it. And at this stage, maybe later, now I've still got so many things to learn. I don't know. I hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so too, because I don't know, the image I got when I was reading it is it felt like a poet in the making.
Yes, it's like playing the Veena, the instrument,
yes.
Veena. In fact, everything. I took classes playing the Veena.
Okay.
And I went to India, and then I saw, this small, dusty atelier where many old men, were sculpting the jackfruit. It's jackfruit tree, and then they would make this beautiful instrument, South Indian instrument. And I was awestruck, and I spent one day just looking, and they were carving this Saraswati on that. And back in Mauritius, I said, okay, I'm going to learn. And then I went to a Tamil cultural center. We were giving classes. Classes were just starting.
So actually, you can learn it here.
Yeah, at the Tamil cultural center. The Veena is with South Indian,
I see.
My mother is Telugu. So she came from South India, and my father is Marathi. She came from North India. And when I was there, and what struck me, I said, oh, I had the impression of having seen that I don't know, it was so familiar. India was so familiar, and
so it's almost like either generational DNA or past life or mix of both.
Yeah, you don't know, but I know I had one experience there. I went to the Kalahasti temple where Shiva is represented as wind, or is represented. It's an allegory as wind, and then there was this very, very ancient, I say ancient, not even old priest. It was just his dhoti, and he saw me, and he was so, he just broke into a smile, and he said something in Telugu.
Did you understand?
No. Oh, and I looked at him, and I was feeling joyful too, because there was this ancient face before me. And I said, my friend, what did he say? And he said, daughter, welcome back.
Wow.
And when I heard that, I think I just, I cried for maybe 1 hour continuously. And all around me, there were faces, Telugu faces, like my grandmother, like all the women in Misère. And I felt like, okay.
You found yourself quelque part.
Yeah. Back there, I wore the sari. Here, I don't know how to attach how to wear the sari. Back there, I put I was barefoot for 7 days. I walked, and my feet became so. But it wasn't even.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just embrace it.
What I felt there was maybe one of the deepest ever feeling that I had been there. There's something here that will always compel me to go there.
That pulls you.
Yeah, that's what
somehow.
I'm talking about. I always talk about the Kalapani traversée. What happened then? Where did we come from? Yes. What were they like? Where, how? And how can we forget as a Mauritian nation? How can we indulge in so much, wealth when all they had when they came was their duty and their little, or the slaves? They had nothing. So how can we forget that in such...
Not even, I mean, it's a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
200 years is a blink of an eye.
Yeah. So I think I need to go back there often, just remind me of who I am and where.
Where you come from.
Yeah. No.
I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe you can be the inspiration for them to find themselves. Last question for you, Davina. What's next for you? You mentioned that you're writing a third novel at the moment.
Yeah, I'm writing. Okay. I already wrote the third novel. I sent it to my editor.
Right, okay.
So we're working on that. And yes, it's...
Still on the... I mean, obviously, I'm not going to ask you to say exactly what it's about, but still on the Mauritian Society?
Yes, it's on the Mauritian Society. It's about taboos.
Right, okay.
Non-dit.
Okay.
And then the third one is, it's in my editor's hand. We're working on that. Yeah, maybe it will come out in 3-4 months.
Okay. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, okay. And then I'm writing the fourth one. This is in Paris and India simultaneously. Yeah, I'm trying to...
Okay.
Yeah. You see the reconciliation of all Paris, India, you
exactly.
See? So I'm trying to...
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you spent 12 years in France, that's part of your history as well.
I love France. Yeah. I have to go there at least twice a year, else I feel like I'm
Oh, have you been this year yet?
Yeah.
You have. Okay.
In May I went.
Okay.
And my husband also studied there, and he said, okay, go, I know, but you're visiting Paris. And then I go and I'm so happy, you know, I visit the Musée du Moyen Âge. I go and see Fabrice Lucchini's. That's my passion. And then I see Vivaldi's concert at l'Église de la Madeleine. So, so all alone. And then
you're at peace being, you know, wandering the streets by yourself. Has Paris changed since 2015 or not really?
When I went there was the, grève des poubelles.
There's always some sort of
Yes, Paris has changed, and still Paris hasn't changed. I love that French spirit, you know. That I was listening to Fabrice Lucchini, and he was talking of La Fontaine and then Racine, and then he's able to make, so many passerelles between all these. And that's what I miss, I guess, his sharpness, with these people whom you learn so much.
Yeah.
So.
And they love, I mean, I think to a great extent they brought it here, but culture is something which is quite visceral to French people.
Yes, that's what I love.
As opposed to other, it's deeply ingrained.
It's deeply ingrained, That's what I took from there, 12 years. So thank God I had the possibility of going and then coming back. But this coming back is maybe what's most important. Retour au pays natal, like I say, aimer ses airs, yeah.
On that beautiful note, thank you so much for the beautiful words that you put on paper. I encourage everyone to go buy your books. I know they're at Book Court. I don't know whether they're at Le Printemps, but I know they're at the Book Court. That's where I bought them from. And I hope more people get to read your beautiful work.
Thanks to you, Joanne. Thank you.
Pleasure.